What's up? What's up? What's up, Crusaders? Man, Kenny Barnwell here. I am so dang excited because this is actually the first real training. I did go live to kind of update you guys here. I'm in my basement office. You can see my kids Thomas the Train set over there, which is pretty awesome. And I'm off the road. I have another gig coming up with an artist, and I'm headed to Vietnam of all places. Such an amazing opportunity that we get to do as touring professionals. And so I'm home, and I want to dive into the topic today, which is how to create a career doing what I do in touring with no degree and no experience. What? You're probably like, yeah, right, buddy. You got to have some experience. You're probably like, you got to have at least some sort of education, right? Yes, education never stops, but a formal degree, formal schooling is not what you need. I'm going to share something with you that I wrote about in my first book, Backstage Pass. By the way, there is a college level class on this. If you're subscribed to my channel here, Cruspire, you can go check it out. It's the Backstage Pass class that I taught at a technical college in Florida that is based on this book. But I'm going to share a little bit with you today, in short, the process on actually how to break into this event industry, how to move up the ladder, and how to eventually get on tour with no experience and no degree from your starting point. Okay. From your starting point. I think really the only thing that requires a degree in this industry is probably like, I don't know, maybe accounting, but probably not even really if you're a good accountant already, if you actually kind of know those numbers. But maybe that's probably the only position in this entire event industry that requires an actual degree. Okay. So I'm going to, again, share with you how to actually break into this industry. Maybe some of you are already in this industry. Maybe you're watching, you're like, dude, I work as a stagehand, or I work in a local production shop. I'm talking to you as well. Okay. So I'm going to share some things with you that is going to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be in regards to touring. Okay. So if you're watching this live and you just signed on, and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Click the link to subscribe so you're not going to miss these new lives that I'm starting to do. I'm doing them every week. I did the first one last week. This is the second one, so you're catching it early. You're going to get to help me build this really amazing platform that we have here on YouTube. This used to be a paid private membership that people pay thousands of dollars for, that I used to coach hundreds of people, our Crusaders, we call them. All of that now is here on this YouTube channel, and I have decided to make it all for free and pour in to you guys. So kudos to you for finding this. All right, let's dive into this. So how on earth do you break into the event industry with no degree and no connections or no experience? Well, first of all, you have to understand that live events are in every city, big and small, all across the world. I don't know where you're watching this from, but I guarantee you there are live events in your area, whether it be in your immediate town or city that you're in, or the next major city over. Like for me, I lived in a small town about 40 minutes outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So Atlanta, Georgia has a ton of opportunities for event work. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to Google, okay, you're going to Google event production, local crew, stagehands, and the name of your city. That's the biggest city closest to you, wherever you go and see your events. Okay. And these pages are going to pop up with all of these different stagehand companies. Some of them are going to be non-union. Some of them are going to be union. My recommendation is, if you're doing this, unless you're forced to, go non-union. All right. There's going to be a lot of people that are not going to like me saying that. But the reason why I say that is because we're wanting to get on tour eventually. And we want to make sure that we can really push through the experience ladder, move up the experience ladder as fast as possible so we can eventually get on tour. All right. And the problem with unions, local crew unions, look, some of my, by the way, disclaimer, some of my friends are diehard, in solidarity with the unions. That's fine. This is not trashing the unions. But what I am talking about in this regard is unions hold you back from growth. Okay. I will repeat that. Unions hold you back from growth. Unions are always focused on seniority, making sure you get your lunch breaks, making sure that, you're getting fed, and all that stuff might be important, but we want to move up the experience ladder. And the way to do that is to get on as many calls as possible, as fast as possible, so you can get the knowledge and the insight and the information that you need to move up the experience ladder. Yes, sometimes unions have education opportunities, but you don't even need that. What you need is learn on the job experience education in this event business. And so I recommend going non-union because of the fact that unions do not promote growth um, through ambition. They promote, honestly, slow growth through seniority. And by the time that you get enough opportunities in most of these unions, you're old and crotchety and you don't even care about doing touring anymore, anyways, truth be told. So I recommend going non-union. Bit of a disclaimer there. Again, I'm not knocking the unions. I'm just not pro-union when it comes to growth. Okay. I understand unions, but I would recommend, if you're looking on Google, try and find local crew stagehand companies like Rhino, Crew One. There's a Rock Force. There's a bunch of these different non-union companies. Sometimes they're real small that you can get on with, and they will give you opportunities that unions would not give you because of a seniority hierarchy, right? This bureaucracy that you have to deal with. We want to be able to get on these calls because here's how you actually get the experience and the education that you need, the specialized experience and education that you need to move up the experience ladder. Here's how you actually do it. You get on as a local crew person. So whether it be a venue person, um, maybe you're selling t-shirts, maybe you're a runner, maybe you're a stagehand. I recommend starting as a stagehand in production because it gives you the most wide range of options of working live events. You'll work everything from concerts to corporate events, fashion shows, trade shows, and everything in between, big and small. You'll get your hands on a lot of different types of events and production. And that is your classroom. Here's what you got to understand, okay? They are going to pay you to go to these events and to help the technicians, engineers, designers, managers set up these events as a stagehand, as a local crew person. Some of you are local crew now watching this going, yeah, dude, it's hard, heavy work. It sometimes sucks. Hey, you're not wrong. It's not the most glamorous work, but it is the profound pathway to moving up the experience ladder because they're going to pay you to learn. You don't need to know anything to get on these companies. Okay. You literally just need to reach out to them and you need to say, hey, I'm very interested in working in live events. I've learned about stagehand work from Kenny Barnwell. You can even say that. By the way, I am the writer of this book as well, Stagehand 101. And I recommend, by the way, going down on the channel and watching the college level class that I taught based on this book. So you get a really good understanding of stagehand work in general. I'm not going to dive too much into some of those specifics on how to become an in-demand stagehand, but that's what that video talks about, because you're going to go there and you're going to work with all these top professionals. Well, you're not going to know anything at first. So they're going to tell you what to do. They're going to say, hey, push this case over here, pull that cable, move this upstage left, upstage right. And you're going to go, what is that? And they're going to tell you. And then your understanding and your education is going to happen progressively. And if you're ambitious, like I was as a young stagehand, I started doing it when I was 18 years old, been in the event business for 22 years and touring now for over 21 years. You are going to have the opportunity to really close the experience gap quickly. Okay. And the key to this is to work based on ambition. Okay. Ask questions. All right. If you're in the moment and they tell you something and you're not sure, don't be timid. You say, what does that mean? What this cable? What's the name of this cable? They're going to tell you that's an XLR cable. Now they might, in the heat of the moment, want to kind of keep things going. So they might not give you a full-on training session, but you can grab little bits of info like that. The name of a cable, the type of case, the stage directions, upstage, downstage, stage left, stage right, center stage, front of house, backstage, right? There's all of the house left, house right. There's all of these things that you're going to want to know. I'm saying this stuff to you. Some of you watching might know this, but it starts there. And it's not going to take you very many gigs to grow your understanding of this. It's one reason why I say don't go union, is because you need as many gigs as possible, and two, you need as much hands-on experience as possible. And unfortunately, because of the seniorities with unions, they restrict you from getting to actually get your hands on certain things and a wider variety of things without having seniority or apprenticeship or whatever. Okay. With non-union companies, it's like free for all. They're going to allow you to do it, especially if you're ambitious, especially if you're not timid, especially if you're really enthusiastic and grateful and wanting to be there. That's the key, right? And so you're going to get on all these gigs and you're going to learn as much about all of it as possible. All right. Like I said, this training tonight, it's nighttime here in Nashville where I'm at. This training tonight is going to be a little bit broad. Okay. So then once when you get on your local crew, you learn about all of the things, all things local crew and stagehand works, chain of command, titles. You're going to learn about cases, cables, stage directions, how to load and unload trucks, how show flow goes, who does what departments put things where, dimmer, beach, guitar world, monitor world, front of house. You're going to probably at that point, you'll get an opportunity to run spotlight, possibly a robo spot, be a stage deckhand. There's all of these different camera operator, cable page. Over a short period of time, a handful of months, you literally become a foundationally proficient stage crew person. Okay. At that point, what you're going to want to do is be self-aware of the different departments that interest you. Okay. Be self-aware of the different departments that interest you. Are you interested in backline, audio, lighting, video, staging, pyro, right? Be aware of all of those things that interest you, because your next step in this process is you're going to want to choose a pathway to specialize in. The next stage is to become a specialist. You're going to want to make sure that you then go from stagehand to a specialist. And how do you do that? Well, because you have this broad knowledge of a bit of everything, you are then going to take that broad knowledge and start to focus it. So let's just like hypothetically say you want to become an audio engineer. All right. Now, a lot of people go to school to be an audio engineer, and their whole thing is, well, I'm an audio engineer. I should be able to mix things and mix big shows and stuff like that now that I have a degree. It just doesn't happen that way. Typically, you have to start at the experience ladder. Even if you have an audio engineering degree, you have to start back at the bottom, which at this point, you've already built a base of experience and knowledge widespread of events in this industry. So now what you need to do is you need to go to your crew chief or your steward and you say, hey, on the gigs that are coming up, I would love to focus on audio. Like I'll do whatever, put me wherever you really need me, but I would love to really like work with the audio teams as much as possible, right? Because here's what you're going to do. When the time is right, you're going to really start to learn how to patch a stage. You're going to start to learn about signal flow. the names of the different parts and components of the cables and the antennas and wireless. How are you going to do that? Well, you're working with directly with some of the best engineers in the industry with some of these shows, especially on some of these big tours that happen, right? They're going to be coming through and you're going to get to help set up the Digico desk or the Yamaha desk. And you're going to work with these engineers. And when there's a quiet moment, which there is, at some point, you got to be couth and really kind of feel the room, if you will, read the room. There's going to be a moment where you can say, hey, man, I got a question about this. Why do you run this way or that way? You know, you're going to help hang the PA and you're going to say, why are the angles like this? Right? You might be working with the systems tech, setting up front of house, and you flip the front of house desk and you plug everything up and say, hey, I noticed that you got an RTA mic and everything over there. I mean, how are you going to focus or tune the room roughly, right? These people love to talk about their profession. Let me just tell you, they love to talk about what they do, given the time's right, given there's like a few minutes and you come with not just like, hey man, how can I get to do what you do? That's a broad question. So how you actually get the specific knowledge is you come with specific questions, right? Specific questions give you specific answers. And so because you have a broad understanding, then you start to specify your questions and your experience. Okay. So you ask your crew chief or steward to get to work with the audio team directly. And then you're going to start helping the audio team more and more. So let's just say you do another dozen gigs where you're just working with the audio team as much as possible. Maybe that's in corporate events, or maybe that's with trade shows or concerts or whatever. You're really getting a good understanding of signal flow, of how all the names of the different consoles, how they all come together from the stagehand local crew vantage point. Can't you see how valuable this is? Because here's what you do for the next step. Well, you can do one of two things at this point because we're working towards getting on tour, right? You can do one or two things. You can go to a local production company or sound company because there's lots of them. You're already working with some of them, by the way, locally. And take note of that when you're working locally as a stagehand, you're asking to work with more of these sound companies. Take note of the logos on the trucks and the logos on the shirts and the names of some of these techs. Maybe you're switching social media information with them and following them on Instagram, right? So you know the names of some of these companies that are working in the venues that you work with. So whether you want to go to a local production or sound company and offer yourself up, you go and apply there and say, hey, I've been working as a stagehand this past 6 months or 1 year. I'm working towards, not I want to be, but I'm working towards being an audio tech, an audio engineer one day. I would love to see who I could speak to about opportunities working with your companies. I work with your company locally, and I've always loved working with your team. And so it just made me want to reach out to see if you guys, if I could talk to somebody about opportunities there. Chances are they're going to pass you along to the person and you're going to get hired on. You can also do the same thing directly with the touring sound companies. This works the same way. I've had people in crew coach that I've coached in this same way. I had one young fella that was a construction worker. He was 26 years old, construction worker, never done any audio before. Joins crew coach. I helped him go through this same process. He finds local crew opportunities, which his was a 2-hour drive away. He starts working as a stagehand, figures out he loves audio, starts to learn audio in the same way, and then reaches out to a local sound company, gets on with them for about 2 months, had enough understanding and proficiency and more specialized experience to be considered an audio person, audio tech, and then he reaches out to one of the largest touring sound companies in the entire industry, and they brought him on to their touring tech training program. Okay. You can do this exact same thing with lighting, with video, with staging. These are some of these big areas that they need a lot of people in, and this is the exact way to do it. This is the process to do it. Backline is a little bit different. Most places have a backline rental company. So you need to go from learning, from being a stagehand, a widespread stagehand, to then Googling local backline rentals and reaching out to that company so you can become a backline tech. Okay. You have to go from stagehand to specialist, not just by experience, but by reputation. Because if you stay known as a stagehand all the time, people see you as a stagehand and not a specialist. Okay. That's that key shift, because then you're going to build relationships locally as bands come through and they rent the backline from your local backline rental company, and you're out there providing gear. You're switching contact information. You're following other backline techs or these production managers and such uh, on their social media, and engaging and being in relationship. And that's how you bridge the gap to becoming a backline tech. It's a freelance position, a lot harder to get involved in than these companies, because there's no backline company that just sends techs out on the road. It's really a more direct relationship based bridge, but it's doable. That's how you do it. So break into the industry with no experience and degree by becoming a local crew person. All right. Same thing with a merch person, by the way. If you're a merch seller locally and you're working with all the touring merch people coming through your city, find out which companies that they work with, and then reach out to those companies when you have enough experience of understanding counting in, counting out, settling, demographics, all the different types of shirts and things like that. Reach out to the touring companies and say, I'm interested in going on the road. Same thing with VIP. VIP is another touring opportunity. Once when you kind of work a little bit locally with VIP, like Live Nation, if you go to livenation.com and you can look at their local job opportunities, you might even see stagehand. You might even see VIP person. You might see merch person. Those are also entry opportunities that don't require any other prior experience. You just need to know about them. You need to Google them, and you need to put yourself out there. And if you get told no or no right now, not right now, it's always a not right now, because there's this constant need for good, reliable people. Unfortunately, especially at the local level, a lot of people are not reliable, or it's not enough work for them, or they're so worried about getting the most amount of dollar rate for the work done. But you're not worried about that, because you are going not just after the money. The money will come, tons of money in touring, but you're after the education. People pay tens of thousands of dollars to go to like Full Sail and SAE, or all these colleges to do show production or audio degrees or lighting degrees or whatever, when you have access to some of the best gear, best experience, and the best instructors in the world, and gaining real practical working experience and relationships along the way as a local crew person. Here's one last thing, and I'll leave you with this. 95% of local crew people do not realize the profound power that they have in their local positions to do what I just shared with you. I have traveled all over this world as a touring person for over 2 decades, and I still talk to local crew stagehands that have no idea how to go from stagehand work to specialists to getting on the road. They feel like you have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and this is not that type of industry. This is not a who you know business. It's a who knows you business, because you're known as a specialist. Well, how do you become a specialist? By what I just shared with you in this training. All right, y'all. Well, listen, if you're not subscribed to the Cruspire channel, I want to encourage you to do so, because I'm going to be doing a lot more trainings like this. We're going to break down some of these career pathways, as well as a ton of awesome trainings that are already on the page and interviews of top touring techs. I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And until next time, go get them.